champion, St. Louis Cardinals.
And the St. Louis Cardinals with Ozzie Smith taking the field with his typical flourish. And as the Minnesota Twins come up tonight, they'll line up this way. Dan Gladden leading off. Al Newman gets the start at second base with Lombardozzi out of the lineup. Kirby Puckett, as usual, batting third. Gary Gaetti is in the cleanup spot, and behind him, hitting fifth, is Tom Brunansky. The left-hand batting Kent Herbeck is at first base. Tim Laudner hits in the 7th spot, and Greg Gagne drops down from 2 to 8. And Frank Viola will swing a bat tonight because there's no designated hitter used in the World Series in the National League Park. Cardinals, defensively, the outfield of Coleman, McGee, and Jose Oquendo. The versatile one is in right. Tom Lawless gets the start at third with Smith at short, Her at second, and Jim Lindemann, the right-hand batter, is at first base. Tony Pena, very instrumental in last night's victory, is back of the plate. And the lefty, Greg Matthews, getting the start in the National League Championship Series. You'll recall he didn't know until he came to the park he would start in Game 1. What about Matthews? Let's find out from National League batting champion Tony Gwynn of the Padres.
Watching Greg Matthews pitch is like watching a John Tudor clone, except that all his pitches are released from the same spot. There's no pattern of how he'll pitch you. He'll throw you any pitch he has at any time in the count, except I don't believe his changeup's as good as John Tudor's. He's got a good pickoff move, but the Giants saw something in his move that obviously tipped them off, and I haven't been able to figure it out.
The Twins do not want to see a John Tudor clone after last night. Tudor allowing just 1 run through 7 innings of work. So Matthews loosening up, and about a half an hour ago, there was Whitey with his grandkids. Back of the plate.
Well, one of the Minnesota Twin hitters said that John Tudor threw about 90% changeup last night. I think that's a little bit of an exaggeration, Tim, but what he did do is use his fastball enough to set up that changeup. When Tony Gwynn says that Matthews' changeup is not good at Tudor, doesn't mean he cannot pitch, because Tudor's outstanding pitch last night was his changeup.
There's John Tudor in your picture right now, and when you talk about a team taking batting practice, that's what the Twins did last night against John Tudor. Because I agree with Tony Gwynn that the Twins are facing a Tudor clone tonight. Even though Matthews, I think, will rely on the changeup. He throws that circle change, and Jim illustrated that last night. He'll rely on it more than Tudor will.
So Matthews, who was forced out of his last appearance at Candlestick Park in the playoffs with a strained thigh muscle.
Quadricep in his right leg, the one he lands on, not the one he pushes off. So, and that's 10 days ago. So he should, control pitcher. And there you saw the curveball. Excuse me, Al. That is one difference. Tudor has one, but only threw it to Herbeck last night. You will see his curveball along with a slider, along with a changeup and a fastball, and he'll throw it to right-hand hitters.
Gladden, Newman, and Puckett in the first inning. Gladden takes a strike on the outside corner. John McSherry has a pretty wide strike zone. McSherry is back at the plate. He's from the National League. Ken Kaiser at first base. Terry Tata at second as Gladden swings and misses. Dave Phillips is the umpire at third. Lee Wire down the line in left, and Greg Kosk will be down the line in right. 1 ball, 2 strikes the count on Dan Gladden in his first year as a Twin. Traded from the Giants in the spring. Change missing away. 2-2 the count.
Pitches inside a lot more than John Tudor, and the way he does that is with both his fastball and his slider. But the key to hitting him, even for the power hitters of the Twins, is to hit the ball up the middle. You can't pull away and hit that changeup away. You just won't get to it.
And down he goes. He turned it over. So Matthews starts with a strikeout. Gladden gone here in the first inning, and Al Newman is the batter.
Again, look at his front shoulder. Now he's throwing him a fastball. He is open. By the time the ball gets there, he's swinging at that arm that looks like it's the same speed as if you're throwing a fastball way out in front on your front foot. Very tough to hit.
Newman now takes inside. Lombardozzi has been playing second. Newman did appear as a pinch runner on Sunday in Game 2. But Newman saw a good deal of action during the regular season. He is a switch hitter and a much better right-handed batter. And he hits a fly ball to shallow center. Tommy Herr tells Willie McGee he'll handle it. 2 gone. So quickly 2 down, and Kirby Puckett is the batter. Puckett had a great year. Kirby hit .332. And he hit .339 against lefties, .329 against righties, so it didn't matter. And .362, as you can see, on the road, leading both leagues.
Matter of fact, Kirby Puckett, since 1975, is the leading hitter in the major leagues against left-handed pitching. A .335 average. That's how well he hits left-handers.
But he's been pretty cool in postseason play. Kirby was 5 for 24, under 200 in the American League Championship Series, and a pretty quiet 3 for 12 thus far in the World Series. And he lines it to left. Coleman is there, had a little bit of trouble but stayed with it, and down go the Twins in order after a half. Minnesota nothing, and St. Louis coming up. Cardinal lineup has Vince Coleman, as usual, leading off, and Ozzie Smith batting second. Then it will be the switch hitting Tommy Herr. First 3 all switch. Jim Lindemann, the rookie first baseman, the cleanup hitter. Switch hitting Willie McGee, batting 5th. Tony Pena, who batted 8th last night, hit 6th tonight. And another switch hitter, Jose Oquendo, batting 7th. Tom Lawless, the sparingly used one during the regular season, batting 8th. And the pitcher is Greg Matthews, who had 2 hits in his Game 1 playoff victory over the Giants. Frank Viola on the mound for Minnesota. Paul Molitor, of course, had a 39-game hitting streak during the regular season. And here's the Milwaukee Brewers Molitor talking about Viola.
Frank Viola's development of a changeup over the past 2 years has taken him from being a good pitcher to a great pitcher. The one thing he has to be careful about there is he occasionally might tip his pitches, holding his fastball lower in the glove as opposed to his changeup or his breaking ball, which he holds higher up into the webbing. The Cardinals should have some success stealing third against him, but he does a very good job of holding runners on first base.
And back of him tonight will be Dan Gladden in left, Kirby Puckett in center, Tom Brunansky in right, Gary Gaetti and Greg Gagne on the left side of the infield with Al Newman, the second baseman. Herbeck is at first, Laudner catching, and Frank Viola, with his brother getting married just prior to his taking the mound in Minnesota and sending him a nice little wedding present with a victory in Game 1 of the World Series.
I asked Frank about John and Nancy and asked if he had talked to them since, and he said no. As a matter of fact, they're on a cruise, and he can't go ship to shore or shore to ship, I guess, in Frank's case.
He's been on a cruise all year, too. Talking about Frank Viola.
But on a rolling cruise,
yes.
On the high seas.
Donna, I beg your pardon, John and Donna.
That's right. You might have given...
Thank goodness they're on the cruise.
Right, you might have given Donna a heart attack. Bottom of the first with Coleman to lead off, Smith and Herr to follow. No score. Gaetti has to shorten up at third to protect against the bunt. Coleman has started 2 games with bunts, and this time takes up high ball 1. Vince, as a right-handed batter, hit .268 this season, 32 points higher, and even .300 as a left-handed hitter. 2-0. Thing about the Cardinals switch hitters, Coleman and Smith are superior left-handed batters. Herr, a better right-handed hitter, and McGee and Oquendo were about even this year. Where they really miss a right-handed bat is with Terry Pendleton. Pendleton cannot swing right-handed. He can only swing lefty. 2-1.
Well, and Coleman's such a superb year. We've talked about the stolen bases, 109. His batting average, career high, 289. But one of the reasons what Johnny Lewis, the batting instructor, said is he takes a lot of pitches. He'll take 3 and 1 because he gets the same pitch at 3 and 2 as he does 3 and 1. You don't want to walk him.
2-2 the count.
Now what Paul Molitor talked about is when you put the glove in a pitcher, you try to get it up as high as you can so a hitter really cannot see. A lot of pitchers will hold their curveball a little bit lower so you'll see more of the heel of his hand versus the fastball.
Still 2-2 on Vince Coleman.
Interesting theory that you just mentioned, Jim, because what you're saying is that because he's taking more, Coleman that is, he's a better hitter. And the reason for that, and it's really well put, is that he's much more selective as a hitter.
Well, in that, you don't want to walk him because you know it's a double or a triple. If you look at batting coach Johnny Lewis, we kind of kidded last year with Jack Clark out a lot of the year. Got a very low profile this year early with Jack getting 35 home runs. And the Cardinals, an interesting point about the Cardinals, they scored averaged about 5.5 runs with Jack Clark, and when he got hurt, about 3.7, so quite a difference.
2-2 to Coleman, got him, turned it over, and down he goes. So Viola changes speeds, and Vince Coleman, after having the count his way, 2-0, goes down on strikes.
Well, that's what Paul Molitor talked about. He said what has made him a better pitcher is he'll throw his changeup any time. Throws 2 fastballs, he's late on them. You try to be a little bit quicker as a hitter, and when you do that, you're more susceptible to a breaking ball pitch, and that's what happened.
Now Smith chops it foul. Smith this season, a left-handed batter hitting .335, but this way, a big, big difference. He batted .249, and there's her on deck. And it's 0-2. The Twins and Tom Kelly not having any reservations about having Viola work 3 games if necessary. He would have gone with Joe Nico tonight had Minnesota won last night's game. 1-2, but this means now that it's Viola tonight. Blyleven goes tomorrow on 3 days rest. It would be Straker if a 6th game was necessary, and Viola would work a decisive 7th if necessary. 2-2.
It's amazing what is made nowadays of a pitcher working with 3 days rest when 10 years ago it was the norm for pitchers to work on 3 days rest because there were 4-man rotations.
Well, the theory being, Tim, that it's a lot easier to find 4 quality pitchers than it is 5. But then again, that is also the reason that they start babying pitchers now and they can't throw over more than 100 pitches. I honestly think that as a guy that pitched just about every 4th day with only 3 days rest, it's easier. You have better control. You have more confidence.
Smith reaches out and grounds it down to Al Newman. And Ozzie is gone. He becomes the 2nd out, and Tommy Herr is the batter. The Cardinals, with the big 3 at the top of the order, Coleman, Smith, and Herr. In game 1, that's how they fared against Viola, who worked 8, and Keith Atherton, who worked the 9th in that 10-1 rout. So they were 0 for 12 without a walk, and that did not happen once in the regular season in all 162 games. So that's how unusual that was, and you can credit Viola in good measure. 2 down, strike to Herr, and the count is 0-1.
Well, that's why after last night's ball game, Vince Coleman said, when I can get on 3 or 4 times a game and I can score 3 and 4 runs, I make a big difference, which is kind of an understatement, but it's really the truth. These guys have to get on, especially now that Pendleton is out of the lineup.
And they won't do it in the 1st inning because Gagne throws out Herr. Each team goes out in order. We'll go to the 2nd with no score. No score. Game 4 of the World Series, top of the 2nd inning, and the middle of the order for Minnesota. It's Gary Gaetti, Tom Brunansky, and Ken Herbeck. Matthews had a 1-2-3 first. Gaetti 4 for 12 in the series. Curve low and in, 1-0. Greg Matthews didn't think about baseball very much as a kid, played it, but never considered playing it professionally. Gaetti squibs it up the line, 1-1. He grew up in Anaheim, and he liked to surf and just have a good time. And he wound up going to Santa Ana College, and as we mentioned at the top, he was drafted by the Twins in 1982 and didn't sign. He wanted to get an education and didn't feel that $8,000 to $10,000 was enough. And then blossomed at Cal State Fullerton. Had a good year there in '84 early on, then was injured and faded a bit at the end, and even his college coach was surprised that he was drafted. He was picked by the Cards in the 10th round.
Well, I could understand that because if you look at him, he does not have great physical ability in the sense that he has a great arm, but he is an accomplished pitcher at 25 years of age. And the reason he got optioned out this year is that he went last year to work with Steve Carlton, the guy that you caught for years. And he tried to throw mechanically like Carlton, more upright, and he just couldn't do it. It wasn't effective.
Gaetti gets hit by the pitch. It grazed him. And so on a 1-2 pitch, the Twins get the leadoff man on here in the second inning with Gary at first base and nobody out, and Tom Brunansky coming up.
Well, Matthews certainly doesn't want to do this. As a matter of fact, this pitch is just to show Gaetti, I would imagine, the fastball inside, and then he would go back outside, and the ball just nicks his shoulder.
He did not hit a batter during the entire regular season in 197 innings.
No, that's what 10 days off will do. Sometimes, again, a control pitcher, you're not quite as sharp, and you try to come inside, and you come in too far. Now, talking about the pickoff move, and Tony Gwynn talked about the fact that San Francisco must have seen something. His one bad tendency, and he has been able to pick two guys off, is that he throws the ball too softly to first. So what they try to do in the National League is just go on his first move. Even if he throws to first, they're going to try to beat the throw to second base, and it's been successful, especially for the Giants.
Gaetti at first base. Gary does not run very much. 1-0 the count. And it's a towering fly ball to shallow center field. Herr goes all the way out and camps under it for the out. Tommy's second put out. Gaetti remains at first with one down. And Kent Hrbek is the batter.
Batting sixth, number 14, first baseman Kent Hrbek.
We said Gaetti doesn't run very much. They do a lot of hit and running with him, so he wound up with a decent number of steals, 10. He was caught 7 times, but he is not what you would classify as a real threat to go in this situation, in a straight steal sense. Hrbek takes high ball 1, 1-0.
It's funny how organizations that don't have the image of running a lot. As a matter of fact, Dan Gladden with 25 stolen bases this year, the most for a Twin player since Rod Carew had 27 back in 1978.
There he goes. It swung on and missed, and the throw down to second doesn't get him.
On the hit and run play. And I don't think Pena really saw and anticipated Gaetti running. A lot of times the bench helps you out. But Hrbek, a left-handed hitter, and your catcher can't see around the left-handed hitter, but you're supposed to anticipate every play. And Tony really taking a long time getting rid of that ball, and that's why Gaetti has his first stolen base in postseason play.
And the count on Hrbek is 1-2, so we'll see if Kent can cash him in. On deck is Tim Laudner.
And also the position of where the ball is. You know, Timmy, ball away is much easier. You can see the runner more readily. That ball's up and in. Kind of blinded him. Get a runner in scoring position.
Just gets a piece of it. So still a ball and 2 strikes. Whitey Herzog looking on as his club tries to get even. And if they do, it means a guaranteed 6th game Saturday in Minnesota. That gets away from Pena, who can't find it. And down to third goes Gaetti.
I tell you, Tony looked like he was crossed up on that pitch by the way he went after the ball. He didn't turn his glove over. See how he stabs at the ball? He goes down and now can't pick it up, and Lawless has to field it. And it's going to go as a wild pitch, and Pena out there talking to Matthews. You see how he goes after that ball? Usually when a catcher goes down after a ball like that, in that particular fashion. It's a cross-up, and Pena talking to Matthews, I would assume that's what it was.
And the Twins get a man to third on a hit batsman, a missed hit and run that results in a steal and a wild pitch. And the Cardinal infield plays in. 3-2 the count.
Sounds more like a Cardinals scoring opportunity than a Twins.
It does. A St. Louis rally. Gaetti at third. 3-2 the count. And he gets him. Big strikeout. 2 down. Herbeck muttering to himself. All he needed was a fly ball to give Minnesota the lead.
Well, even sometimes a wild pitch will set up a strikeout. Away, 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 away. And then he turns it over, comes down and in, which is really in Herbeck's power, except the ball sinks, which is one of Matthews' strengths, and he swings right over it. So in and out, excuse me, Al, in and out, and you finally get the strikeout. Not up and in, but down and in.
Laudner, one of those unlikely heroes in the World Series to this point. 191 during the regular season and 5 for 9. Takes high, ball 1.
Matter of fact, Matthews' batting average is the same as Laudner's for the regular season. 191. Now, Laudner did have a few more home runs.
Tom Kelly opting to go with Laudner on an everyday basis. 2-0 the count. Before the series had started, it appeared that Sal Butera might cash in Game 3, but last night, because Laudner had a relatively hot bat in Games 1 and 2 with a home run on Sunday, he elected to go with Tim in Game 3. And the count 3-0 with Gagne on deck.
Well, it's just a matter of who you want to pitch to. Good way to get a big inning going, but Gagne 1 for 12, Laudner hitting over 500. Pretty easy decision. And I think he's really fooled him because he's hit some pretty good pitches.
And he gets the green light and fouls it away. Now, how often would you see a 191 hitter get a green light? But Kelly figures he's got the hot bat, play it.
Exactly. I was thinking the same thing, and how often do you see a 191 hitter being pitched around in the second inning of a ball game?
Well, when he's hitting 556 in the series, that's, you know.
He's not a 191 hitter of the Cardinals, is he?
No.
3-1 to Laudner. Is hit in the air to right field, and racing over is Oquendo, but he can't make the catch. It's a foul ball. And he's a little slow in getting up, but Jose getting a nice hand, going a long way, but unable to handle it. And so a long strike, and the count will be 3-2.
Well, with the type of track that is down there, that's almost that rubber track around there, you don't get a lot of slide. If that were dirt or cinders, I think you'd get a little more slide and a little more resiliency, but see how he just stops. He hits and stops.
That's closer to landing on cement than it is to landing on grass.
That's right.
So 3 balls, 2 strikes now with 2 out, no score, second inning. Gaetti, the runner at third. Crowd hopeful of a strikeout, and that's something that occurred with great frequency for Laudner during the regular year. Still 3-2. Sort of an all-or-nothing regular season for Laudner. He hit those 16 home runs in 288 at-bats. He also struck out 80 times in 288 at-bats, an enormous ratio.
Well, the more strikes you throw him, the better hitter he is.
Spun down to first. Lindemann does it himself. And the Twins squander a threat in the second. End of 1.5, no score.
Mike Rourke talking to Greg Matthews between innings. As we said, 25 years of age, only his second year in the major leagues. And Mike Rourke, I would call him a hands-on pitching coach. As always, he talked to John Tudor at length. maybe has a little bit of advice. Doesn't pitching pretty well so far.
And Pena listening in as well.
I think, probably talking about that cross-up that you were talking about, Timmy. Maybe trying to get the sign straightened out. It makes the job a lot easier for both the pitcher and the catcher, especially in late innings when in a close ball game.
Bottom of the second inning with no score. Jim Lindeman to lead off, McGee and Pena to follow. When Viola pitched game 1, he allowed just 5 hits in 8 innings, 2 by Lindeman, including a fly ball double that dropped in front of Puckett that led to the Cardinals' only run. Lindeman had 2 of the hits, and McGee, who's on deck, had 2 hits against Viola. 1-1.
And with the Cardinal lineup missing Terry Pendleton and Jack Clark, that's really what you try to do as a pitcher. You try to space the hits. The only way the Cardinals are going to score any runs, at least the theory by which you go, is to bunch hits 3 in a row, 3 out of 4. That's how they're going to score runs. Where the Twins can get a guy on and pop one out of the ballpark. You can't really anticipate that with the Cardinal lineup.
And that is the way the Cardinals have been for years, and they're constructed to play in this ballpark. Spacious Busch Stadium. As the writer Art Spander of San Francisco said, the only grand slam the Cardinals know about is in Contract Bridge.
7 no Trump.
Right. Hit foul. And it's 2-2.
Well, that's why Viola really has an edge against this lineup. Big ballpark, holds runners on well. And as Molitor said, the only problem he has at second base, it's a lot easier to steal third than it is to steal from first to second.
And down goes Lindeman. Good fastball. So 2 strikeouts for Viola. He fanned Coleman starting the first. Lindeman here in the second. And up comes Willie McGee.
Well, ball position in the glove with the 2 fingers. Looks like a cross-seam fastball. And what makes him so tough is that his fastball is well over 90 miles per hour. So you have the curveball, the changeup, he'll throw at any time. You can't sit on one pitch. And any hitter will tell you that makes hitting very difficult.
1 out, base is empty, and McGee wraps it into center, base hit. So Willie has Viola's number, his 3rd hit off Frank, and McGee having a good series is now 6 for 12. Tony Pena coming up. Pena making a great play yesterday. This coming in the 6th inning, going right to the edge of the dugout and in. And
Talk
getting
about
a big out.
Talk about living on the edge. That's what he did there.
Yeah. You can die on the edge here in these dugouts. Breaking pitch missing, and the count 1-0.
Look for McGee to run right here. Pena hits the ball well the other way, and the Cardinals have to put their runners in motion in order to score runs. They cannot play a passive game. Ideal time to do it because the Twins probably won't pitch out. It's 1-0. It takes a lot of guts to pitch out when you're behind in the count.
And it's 2-0 now. So Pena steps out for a look at McLeva at 3rd. Vince Coleman, meanwhile, is getting as good a perspective as he can as he moves down to the edge of the dugout. He does that often to get a better peek at a pickoff move.
Well, he hasn't been able to get on first, so this is the best perspective that he has. At least not off of Viola.
What kind of move was that, Jim? That's a strange move right there. There was no leg kick.
Well, that's what he did on the pitch before, and he knows, as you said, that McGee may run. So what he's trying to do is cut down on the leg kick, both when he goes to first and home. And that's a very short leg kick for somebody that's 6'4". Now, that's not the leg kick you will see with nobody on first base. It'll be a lot higher. Or somebody on first base that can't run. Now, Willie McGee did not run, only 16 stolen bases this year because of the knee injury and then the surgery that he had during the offseason coming back in mid-April.
3-0. Pena taking, looks at a strike, and it's 3-1 with Oquendo on deck.
I'll tell you, there's a dramatic difference in the leg kick of Frank Viola and the leg kick of Greg Matthews, for instance. Viola just shuffles that right leg forward, and Matthews takes it all the way back as if he were warming or winding up.
McGee goes, and it's drilled toward the gap in left center field. Puckett charging in and has to short hop it, and McGee stops at second. So the Cardinals with 2 on and 1 out. McGee had to hold up even though he was going to see if Puckett would catch it. So he has to stop at second with 1 gone.
A ball off the end of the bat, and I don't really think Willie McGee knew where Puckett was playing. Puckett looked like he faked, but not a great fake. He was out in right center field because we've seen Pena drive the ball and hit the ball between first and second. But Puckett gives him the fake. McGee falls for it, and instead of first and third, and a fly ball scoring a run, you still got a double play in order. Ground ball could get you out of the inning.
Jose Oquendo taking ball 1. Oquendo last night got the 7th inning started with a base hit.
Now Willie slows up before he gets to second base. I agree with you, Jim. I think Puckett made a good play once the ball did bounce. But Willie should have been a little more aggressive on the bases.
2-0 the count.
The first responsibility a base runner has is to turn around and check all the outfielders and see how deep they are. And to echo that thought, I don't think Willie did that. The ball did fool him a little bit. But a case could be made that he should be on third base right now.
And where he was playing, Puckett was playing him over toward the gap in right center.
Yeah.
To deep left center field. Gladden goes all the way back and makes the catch, and the runners have to hold. When it left the bat, it looked like it had a chance, but it just died. And Gladden able to race back and make the play.
I'll remind you of the 3-run home run Jose Oquendo hit off Atlee Hammaker. The difference is a high fastball. And you're going to see right now Gladden playing shallow where he should be playing because Oquendo only has 1 home run during the regular season. That from the right side, runs it down. That's Death Valley out there. Very rarely will you see Oquendo, a line drive hitter, be able to hit the ball up in the air and get it over the outfielder's head. Now, he can't hit those gap shots. If that ball is lower line drive, that's a double or a triple.
Yet another case to be made also for an outfield playing shallow with the type of hitter like Oquendo up.
Oh, definitely. They played him the way you should. You make him hit the ball over your head, especially in a big ballpark.
Tom Lawless with Wayne Terwilliger positioning the defense. Lawless came up only 25 times all season, and he was 2 for 25. He hit .080, and the only reason he's playing in the World Series as a starter against left-handed pitching is the Pendleton injury. The 1-0 to Lawless, in for a strike, and it's 1-1.
One of the big reasons that Terwilliger was pushing the infield back is you've got the pitcher on deck, and he wants to give the infielders every opportunity, if they can't make a play, to knock the ball down. The bases loaded and 2 outs, you'll take your chance with Matthews hitting.
One and two.
Normally, you wouldn't see Al Newman play that deep with Tom Lawless hitting. But with 2 outs and Willie McGee on second base, he's going to play a couple of steps deeper. He's shallow right now, but he'll move back actually into short right center. You'd never see him with nobody on playing that shallow for Tom Lawless.
1 ball, 2 strikes the count. McGee is at second. Pena at first. And it's still 1 and 2. No score. We're in the bottom of the second inning in game 4.
Unusual year for Tom Lawless. The reason he got so few at bats, and normally he'd get about 50 times a year being a utility infielder, is he's the 3rd catcher. And when you're the third catcher, you don't want to use a guy prematurely if you're a Whitey Herzog.
2-2. Kelly with Dick Such as pitching coach. Two balls, two strikes, 2 out and 2 on in the second. And the count is full, and what that means now is the runners are going.
And also a 3-2 count means that they're going to make Frank Viola work on 3 days rest. He threw 100 pitches the other night, a lot more than he had to do in that first ball game. 7 runs in the 4th inning, a big lead. Just go out there, pitch your game. One pitch is not going to beat you. That may not be the case tonight.
3-2 the count. McGee and Pena go, and it's cold, strike 3. So the Cardinals strand 2, no score as we go to the third, and we'll be back after this message from your local station. Goodyear Blimp, 1,000 feet above Busch Stadium. The Goodyear Blimp Enterprise, piloted by Richard Daniels, high above Busch Stadium on this clear and cold night with the temperature in the mid-40s. And tomorrow, the presidential press conference at 8 o'clock Eastern time, and then immediately thereafter, Game 5 as the Twins take on the Cardinals here at Busch Stadium. It'll be Bert Blyleven against either Danny Cox or Joe McGrain in all probability. Third inning, and the first pitch to Gagne is inside, ball 1. Before the game, Whitey Herzog mulling over his possibilities tomorrow night, and a lot would depend on whether it's 2-2 or 3-1. But he's got a couple of ways he can go. The count 2-0. There is Danny Cox. He could pitch tomorrow, and if he does pitch tomorrow, and if this were to go to 7, Whitey was even mulling the possibility of Cox pitching on 2 days rest in a deciding game. That's drilled to deep left field and gone by plenty. Greg Gagne, who hit 10 during the regular season, makes it 1-0 Minnesota.
What a rocket. Boy, did that ball get out of the ballpark in a hurry.
Well, you talked in the first game about how he wraps his bat. Now 2-0, you can wrap your bat, you can look fastball, and that's exactly what he got. Belt high and look in an area. Now watch that bat wrapped. Look where the ball is. Inside half, right where you wanted it. If you could order one up, you'd say, I'm looking 2-0, throw it on the inside half, and he belted it.
Viola now, the count 0-1. So Greg Gagne dropped to 8th in the order, was 1 for 12 in the series coming in tonight.
And now he did hit a home run against Frank Tanana, I believe in the 4th game in the playoffs on a slow curveball. And also he hit another home run which was off a right-hander on a high slider. So he's had a good postseason, more so in the playoffs in the World Series till that swing.
1-2 now on Viola. Frank, of course, hitting for the first time this year and in his major league career. And he looks like it.
Swinging for the first time, not hitting.
There is a difference.
Yes, there was then.
Meanwhile, Mike Rourke now going to the mound, and you begin to wonder about that quadricep that forced him out of the game in San Francisco. And with Rourke going to John McSherry, what he's saying is this is not a visit to the mound outside of the fact I'm checking on his condition, and that's why McSherry is eavesdropping.
You can see, as you would expect, mixing his pitches, which is what he is. As I said, he's a pitcher, not a thrower. He's not the type of guy that's going to be overpowering. Good blend. He had pretty good command of his changeup. The only mistake he's really made is with that fastball 2-0. Really, first of all, getting behind 2-0.
Yeah, well, that's the key. You know, and you talk about it, and you keep talking about how it's so important to stay ahead. An experienced hitter like Gagne can look for that pitch, and boy, he got it. So a lot of times it's not the pitch, it's how you got there, and it's not necessarily the 2-0 pitch, but getting 2 balls and no strikes to begin with.
Whitey has to be a little concerned right now because Rourke paying the visit to the mound to check on Matthews, and if Whitey has to go to the bullpen as Rourke makes his way back to the dugout, he's got Bob Forsch and he's got Rick Horton. And I suppose if he wanted to, he could go with Joe McGrane. Gladden at the plate in the count 0-1.
And the importance of the opposite leg, the one you don't push off, and in this case would be the right leg of Greg Matthews, is this is the leg that you use as a hinge. It allows you to get that front leg down, and let's face it, Greg Matthews is a low ball pitcher. He has to use that right leg, which is the one he hurt up in San Francisco, as a hinge for him to be able to have the good control that he needs to have to be effective.
Strike, a delayed call by John McSherry.
Now just kind of concentrate on that, not the leg he pushes off, but the right leg, and watch how he hinges it when he lands on it. Right here, and see it just kind of used as a hinge. Now, if that leg is too stiff and you get a little bit tired, what will happen to pitchers, you'll get up in the strike zone. When Matthews gets up, we saw the result, long, hard hit balls.
Gladden fouls one off his foot, so Rourke is on the phone to the bullpen, even though there's no activity down there.
Well, Bob Forsch, as you were speaking, Al, made his way down to the bullpen. So Bob is down there right now. Dave Ricketts, the bullpen coach, appears to possibly be getting Forsch up right now.
To left field, and Coleman comes in to make the catch. So one left fielder flies out to the other. And with 2 down here in the 3rd inning, Al Newman is the batter.
Second baseman, Al Newman.
It's not an emergency situation to get a pitcher up in this circumstance, because if Matthews was forced to leave the game, and we say this for the benefit of those of you who don't watch a lot of baseball during the regular season, if he had to come out of the game because of an injury, then whoever replaced him would get as much time as he needed to warm up. 1-0 the count on Newman.
Well, I have a lot of respect for the Cardinals, because in that 5th game, in a crucial game in the playoffs, when he hurt that leg, they said it wasn't up to him. He wanted to pitch. They said, we're not only thinking about this year, we're thinking about the future. They went to Forsch. They ended up losing the ball game, and then eventually won the 6th and 7th game here in St. Louis. So they cared more about his health than they did about the outcome of the game.
There is Steve Lake, who is one of the reserve catchers for the Cardinals in case there is activity in the bullpen. And it's 3-1 now. And there is Bob Forsch, and he's going to start to heat up. And Newman is on. So with 2 down, Newman draws the walk, and Kirby Puckett comes to the plate. Puckett fly to left in the 1st inning.
Center fielder, Kirby Puckett.
Twins ahead 1-0 on a 3rd inning home run by Greg Gagne. Newman at first base. Puckett with great success through the years against Southpaws.
Newman had 15 stolen bases during the season and really has potentially excellent speed. He broke Timmy Raines' record, held in Double-A ball back in 1982.
But caught 11 times, and I think a lot of that has to do with inexperience. Really, he's never had a chance to play. Didn't get to play in Montreal that much. He's a backup infielder this year. They wanted him to really hit from the left side, and that's where his bad numbers are from. So he will be a much better base runner as he learns the pitchers, learns more about base running. You do a lot of things in the minors you can't do in the major leagues.
Newman held on by Lindemann. 2 down, 1-0 Twins in the 3rd. 0-1.
And you talked about Puckett struggling. The first ball he has really driven sharply to the left side was the ball he lined out to left field. Looked like a fastball that Matthews got up and inside part of the plate. They pitched him away. They played him that way, and other than the ball that Kurt Ford tried to hold to a double that went for triple last night, he really hasn't hit the ball that hard. So he's got his hits, but they've only been soft singles to right field. And that looping double.
Toward the hole, corralled by Smith, who goes to her for the force. Nice play by Tommy. So in the inning, the Twins take the lead on the home run by Gagne, and after 2.5, Minnesota 1, St. Louis nothing.
Necessarily the throw you have to handle, but how hard it's thrown from a very short distance. And that's why it was a good play by Tommy Herr. What he had to do. Good play.
So that ended the top of the third, and now in the bottom of the third, Matthews grounds to short, and Matthews can barely run, so he just jogged down to first base on the grounder to Gagne. And if you're thinking about that thigh problem, it was quite in evidence as Matthews moved down to first base.
That's the first time he's made an out in postseason play. 2 for 2 with 2 sacrifices before that at bat.
That coming in game 1 of the National League Championship Series, the night Danny Cox couldn't make it to the post, and Matthews got the call, won the game, and did the job with a bat. 2-run single and a couple of sacrifices that night. Coleman now looks at a strike. Just jogging. Half swing foul, and it's 0-2.
It's not the way it's supposed to be done, and you don't. And he's been around long enough where you try to run those balls out. I mean, at least with a little more effort, I'd have to assume that his leg is bothering a little bit. And as we've said, Al, I mean, it's 40 degrees at game time, or 47. Wind chill around 40 degrees. And it's supposed to go down a little bit lower.
0-2 to Coleman. Breaking pitch, line to right field at Brunansky, and he makes the catch. Tom Brunansky, during the course of the regular season, he makes a lot of catches like that. He has the knack of gauging those low sinking line drives, going to his knees and making the play.
And the reason that outfielders will slide on the rug like that is because when they slide, it is a timing play. And by sliding the gloves down there, that's why they prefer that as opposed to bending from the waist.
He's got that move down to a science.
Yeah.
What makes that play even better is that if the ball gets by him, that's the score is tied. I mean, no doubt about it. Coleman will circle the bases. I only saw one guy that I think could run faster, and that was Willie Davis. Dropped the bunt down to Miami. They overthrew first, and he was coming by home before you could know. I mean, it was unbelievable. Long, beautiful strides. Coleman, a little choppy steps, but gets the job done the same way.
I don't think I ever saw anybody go from first to third faster than Willie Davis.
Long-time Dodgers center fielder. 1-2 the count. Well, we showed the Jim Palmer highlight as you look at the graph on Frank Viola, mainly fastballs through 2. Showed Palmer's 66 World Series triumph, but that's one World Series Willie Davis would love to forget.
Well, that's what we said in the production meeting. They said you beat Koufax. I said I didn't beat Koufax. Willie Davis beat Koufax. Dropped 2 fly balls in a row, and then wanted to let everybody know that he couldn't catch the ball, but he has a good arm, so he picked it up and threw it into the third base stands. See you later, Sandy.
Smith looping a foul, and it's still 2-2 on Ozzie with 2 down and the bases empty in the bottom of the third inning in game 4, 1-0 Minnesota. John McNamara, who was in the World Series last year as the manager of the Boston Red Sox, looking on tonight, and along with Haywood Sullivan and The rest of the front office probably thinking about a couple of trades. There is one man who is not on the trading block, Kirby Puckett.
Be an uprising in Minneapolis
Yeah,
if he were traded.
Ozzie checks, and the pitch just missing in the count 3-2. Herr would follow if Smith can keep it alive. Frank Viola, who won 17 during the regular season. And Smith gets on. So with 2 down, Ozzie Smith at first base, and a threat to go. Smith second on the club in steals to Coleman. He had 43. Tommy Herr has been about as cold as the weather through the playoffs and the World Series. Again, Herr is a better right-handed batter, 297 this year. From the right side. Strike.
And I talked about that point last night. I thought a lot of his problems were unfamiliarity with the other pitchers. He said everybody has the same problem. He said he feels he's hitting the ball sharply, and he hit the ball hard off Viola twice in Minnesota. Nothing to show for it.
One and one.
I think with the quick move that he has, you really have to take a gamble. You have to go on his first move. If he's gone to home plate as he has on the first 2 pitches, you got a chance. Otherwise, he's got a good enough move where it's going to be real hard, I think, to pick something up and run on his move. You're just going to have to go on that first move and hope that Laudner doesn't make a good throw.
There he goes. Good jump and a little looper into center for a base hit. Smith will go to third.
Well, that was not a hit and run. That was a matter of Ozzie Smith running and Tommy Herr hitting it. There's really no advantage or no percentage to putting on a hit and run with 2 outs, because one of the reasons that you put the hit and run on is to get the runner to third base. And in this particular situation with 2 outs, you still need, for the most part, a base hit to score Smith from third. With nobody out or 1 out, then you do employ the hit and run. But that was just a matter of Smith running, Tommy Herr choosing a good pitch and smacking it.
Jim Lindemann now. 2 on, 2 out, takes a strike. Lindemann struck out. Viola blew him away with a fastball in the 2nd inning after Lindemann had picked up a couple of hits in game 1 off Viola. Smith at third and Herr at first, held on by Herbeck. Into left field, base hit, game is tied.
Pitching is so much matchups. Lindemann's weakness is a pitch that Viola doesn't have, and that's a right-handed breaking ball. Matches up very well against left-handers.
So a 2-out Cardinal rally, a walk and 2 singles, and McGee is the batter. This starting when Smith drew a walk, and remember how close that 2-2 pitch was. He worked the count full, drew the walk. Herb, a looping single into center field. And then Lindemann with a game-tying single. Oh, 2.
As a matter of fact, that's the first walk Viola has issued. He issued no walks in game 1 while striking out 5. and his first walk in this game has scored. And Jim, it's amazing how many walks score as opposed to guys who have to battle their way on base.
Well, here's a guy that has not hit a home run all year, 2 outs. Didn't want to walk him, and the pitchers were close, but ended up doing so, and the score is tied.
The Twins generally have done a great job keeping the Cardinals off the bases. St. Louis had drawn only 3 walks in the first 3 games. And boy, did he go after a pitch a mile out of the strike zone. Willie that over anxious to give St. Louis the lead. They settle for 1 on a pitch at eye level. Down goes McGee, and we'll go to the 4th, tied 1-1.
I have never seen a hitter that would not exchange a bat for a hit, especially with a runner in scoring position. And Jim Lindemann, obviously, no exception.
That ties it, and we go to the 4th inning. Al Michaels with Jim Palmer and Tim McCarver. Busch Stadium, Game 4. Twins leading in the series 2-1. And Gary Gaetti starting things in the 4th. Middle of the order, Brunansky and Herbeck to follow. Gaetti hit by a pitch in the 2nd inning. Wound up at 3rd, but was stranded there. And he rips it into left field for a base hit. The leadoff man is on for the Twins. Second time that has happened tonight, and up comes Tom Brunansky.
Right fielder Tom Brunansky.
Brunansky popped out in the 2nd inning. Twins 1 under against righties, and during the regular year, 9 over against left-handed pitching.
A predominant right-handed hitting ball club. The only real power hitter they have is Herbeck. Randy Bush has played, but only 11 home runs as their DH and right fielder sometimes.
Brunansky takes a strike. Rick Rennick coaching at 3rd.
Doubtful that anything will be on. You let your bigger, stronger hitters hammer away. Maybe a guy like Herbeck against a left-hander who's less inclined to hit a long ball, but you want Brunansky to choose a pitch.
He chooses this one and hooks it foul. And the count is 0-2.
And you might say, well, what about a hit and run? Well, on the hit and run, you're compelled to swing. You have to swing. And you don't want a guy like Brunansky with all that power wasted on a time at bat where he must swing the bat.
And with nobody out here, it's not likely. With Herbeck, with lefty against lefty and trying to stay out of the double play, you might see him run, as was the case in the 2nd inning. 1-2.
It also happened last night, talking to Ozzie Smith when he made that great play. Talked to him today. He said, I think that with Brunansky or maybe Gaetti on first, with Herbeck versus a lefty, he said he just tells him, I'm going to go, you swing, and he tries to hit the ball to left field. And Ozzie kept that from happening with a great play last night.
That's rolled toward 3rd, foul ball.
And as always, you open up get those infielders moving. Ozzie said he tried to, the 2nd time after he'd done it the 1st time, as you see the ball start out fair. I was watching him. Again, it's very close. It's not where that ball lands, it's where it goes over the bag. Looks like about an inch or 2 foul. Bunts here at Busch Stadium almost always will roll foul unless you get them about 3 or 4 feet fair. So even the ground balls are going to kind of hook.
1 ball, 2 strikes, nobody out. Game tied 1-1 in the top of the 4th inning. Gaetti at first. Twins getting a run in the 3rd inning on a home run by Gary Gaetti. And the Cardinals getting even in the bottom of the 3rd. A 2-out walk to Ozzie Smith and then singles by Her and Lindemann. I said Gaetti, I meant Gagne on the home run.
Well, that's easy to confuse, Al.
The G-man,
Gaetti
right?
only hit 31 this year.
Had the initials right.
Yes. likely suspect.
Yeah.
As you look at Gary Gaetti, also along with Jack Clark, will be a free agent, has not signed for 1988.
2 balls, 2 strikes.
A lot of important years for a lot of these players. Terry Pendleton, for instance, just completed his 3rd year, as did Vince Coleman, which means that they are eligible for arbitration next year, as you look at Bob Forsch forming for the Cardinals.
Broken bat, knocked down by Matthews, goes to second, and in time for the Forsch. Nice play by Matthews. Back shattering, he's able to knock it down, had the presence of mind to still get the lead runner at second base. So Gaetti is erased. Brunansky is at first with 1 down.
Well, once you throw the ball, you become a fielder. And you saw, again, second consecutive inning of batting shattered. And what makes this play possible is his good reflexes, and also the fact that Gaetti has to wait and see if the ball is going to be caught.
Herbeck now, who struck out in the 2nd inning. Looks for the strike, 0-1.
We'll see a lot of broken bats if a guy keeps pitching in, and the ball is what they call is a heavy ball. A guy like Dave Jervecki breaks a lot of bats, but what they're doing tonight, both Viola and Matthews, is in and out.
In the air to right center field and shallow, Oquendo comes charging in and makes the catch. Two gone here in the 4th inning with Brunansky at first base, and Laudner is the batter.
I'll tell you, with Herbeck, the only left-handed hitter for the most part in the Twins lineup, it kind of reminds you of Duke Snider with the Dodgers back in the 50s. All the right-handed power for Brooklyn.
Oh, yeah.
Before they moved to Los Angeles. And you get to face a lot of right-handed pitchers as a result.
Ferrillo, Hodges, Campanella. Up high, ball 1.
Shotgun Shuba.
Yep.
Pee Wee Reese.
And then when they got to LA, that power hitter Wally Moon with a moonstroke.
The moon shots at the Coliseum, yeah.
Should try to sit out behind that screen and catch one.
Runner goes, pitch is high, throw is high, and a good jump that time for Brunansky, who just took off and stole that one on Matthews.
Well, Minnesota scouts were obviously aware of the fact that when Matthews takes that front leg behind the back leg, that you can steal easily on him.
And Whitey doesn't like what he's seeing. And it's another one of those visits to the mound, which is not charged as your typical visit. In other words, you're allowed 1, and then the second time out, you'd have to remove your pitcher, and that's why McSherry's there. And that's it. He's going to have to come out of the game, as was the case in San Francisco during the championship series. Herzog can't go any further with him, and he's got to go to the bullpen and go to his long man, Bob Forsch. So it's 1-1 in the 4th, and we'll be back.
Well, you see Greg Matthews, the same injury that kept him after 3 innings from going any farther out in San Francisco in the 5th game. Goes a little bit farther tonight, but has to leave, and we will see Bob Forsch.
So Forsch comes on in relief, and let's get the inside pitch on Bob Forsch from Tony Gwynn of the San Diego Padres.
Bob Forsch is an experienced pitcher. He knows how to pitch. He mixes his pitches well. He throws a fastball, curveball, slider, and straight change, and he doesn't give in to the hitter. He's always around the plate, and he's tough to steal on. He's real quick going to the plate, which is going to make it tough for Twins runners to try to steal a base.
I'll tell you, one of the keys to Tony's comments was that Forsch does not give in to the hitter. He actually tries to get hitters out on balls that are just off the plate. They serve as the appearance of a strike, but they're rarely strikes. Early in the count, yes, but I think Bob takes your attitude, Jim. Stay ahead, and then expand the strike zone, and he does it really well.
He can't stay ahead here because he inherits a count of 2 balls and no strikes to Tim Laudner, and now it is 3-0 with Gagne on deck. So 2 down, 4th inning, game tied 1-1, and Brunansky at second base. Porsche, a Cardinal since 1974, and again a 3-0 green light, and it's fouled away, 3-1.
That's the most action Lance Johnson's seen this World Series. Dodgeball. It's a dangerous place, the dugout sometimes.
Breaking pitch misses. Porsche, well, he threw it over, but Laudner draws the walk. That walk would be charged to Matthews, since Porsche inherited a count of 2-0. And it will bring up Greg Gagne, who homered deep into the seats and left in the 3rd inning.
Well, you're exactly right about Bob Porsche. The grand slam he gave up in the first game. Take a look at Matthews' 2-0 pitch to Greg Gagne that he just jolted into the seats.
Crushed it.
Yes, he did. It was a hanging slider, so he does not have good enough stuff to make a lot of mistakes. When he does, he's in trouble.
Missing away, 1-0 the count. Gagne with 7 hits in postseason play, 3 homers, 4 doubles. 1-1.
That's the pitch right there that's going to be successful. Everything he throws has to be down in the strike zone, and he has to be on the corners. If he's in the middle of the plate, it's not going to be effective. Won 154 Major League ball games.
2 of them no-hitters. Once against the Phillies, once against the Expos.
1-2.
So much like John Tudor last night, Pena moves, gives him the target low and away, and look where the ball is. If he gets the ball there, he could be very tough on the Twins because a lot of right-handed hitters, as we said.
One and two. 37-year-old Bob Porsche picking up for Matthews and trying to quell a Twin threat in the 4th. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Viola on deck, and as is their custom, 2 and 2, the rally caps in the Minnesota dugout.
Used to ward off evil spirits, like 2-2 low and away sliders.
Yeah, those are evil, I agree.
That's what he got, too. It didn't ward off that baby. And at the end of 3.5, Twins won, Cardinals won. Well, that Twin ritual with a count 2 and 2 didn't pay off. It is explained by second baseman Al Newman.
It's called the rally caps. Anytime there's 2 outs and 2-2 count, all the guys take their hats off and shake them in this manner, and hopefully good things will happen. Thus far, this series has been 6 for 6, and it's been working. But it all started back in the guys from Portland who came up in September, brought it up with them, and we just incorporated it into our offense.
But as Palmer said, it couldn't ward off that low and away 2-2 slider. So they're 6 for 7. And the game is tied as we go to the bottom of the 4th inning, and Pena starts things off with a count 1-0. Pena, Oquendo, and Lawless facing Frank Viola. Tony singled in the 2nd. He's 3 for 10 in the series. And it's 2-0.
It's interesting to watch Kirby Puckett in center field playing the count. He was over into right center, and now with the count 2-0, Pena more inclined to hit the ball straight away, but Kirby playing the count. And that's one thing I've noticed about watching Kirby Puckett playing center field. He does that as well as anybody, and you don't see a lot of outfielders do that anymore.
3-0 the count.
And the reason he does that, and you're exactly right. I picked on that maybe because I don't think it's that obvious. A guy who was a great hitter, Larry Heisel, impressed me, and I think when watching a player, when you see him do that, you know he's heads up, not only offensively, but on defense, which is such an important part of the game. Because he knows Viola does not want to walk the leadoff hitter, whether it's Pena or anybody.
And he loses Tony, so Pena draws the walk. It is the first time tonight the Cardinals have gotten the leadoff man on, and Jose Oquendo, the number 7 hitter, comes up.
I guess really to simplify that thought, when a hitter is ahead in the count, he's more inclined to pull the ball. When a hitter's behind in the count, for instance, no balls and 2 strikes, he's more inclined to hit the ball the other way.
Oquendo taking just off the plate. Viola thought he was going to get the call. McSherry moved that right arm. John has a tendency to do that a lot. You get a lot of half calls. Pena with a very conservative lead at first. And that's over. And it's 1-1. Frank Viola working on 3 days rest. There it was during the regular year, 4.74 ERA. And just about 2 runs less with normal rest.
You might see it in his control. He didn't walk anybody that first night. He's already walked 2, only averaged about 2.4 walks per inning this year.
And that's his 63rd pitch, and all you have to do with 3 innings in the books is go 63 times 3. He'd be on a 189 pitch pace. So he's thrown a lot of pitches so far.
Too many. It's a very simple game. If you watched the game last night, and something you talked about in your opening, Timmy, if the games stay close, the advantage goes to the Cardinals because Reardon, Berenguer, Atherton do not hold runners well. And as we've talked about all series, the strength of the Cardinals with Clark and Pendleton out is their running attack. The wrong guys get on, or the right guys get on, depending which way you look at it, it's going to be a track meet.
2-1 now in Oquendo. Nobody out. Pena in first base in the bottom of the 4th inning.
Two balls and 1 strike count, the ideal hit and runs count. So you may see Pena in motion.
He bluffs going and is lined into right center for a base hit. He's on his way to 3rd and in there with nobody out.
Pena, as the runner at first base, is not compelled to get a good jump. Therefore, he cautiously breaks off of first base. He picks up the ball. Oquendo lifts it into right center, and now you have a 1st and 3rd, nobody out situation. Watch how Pena just cautiously breaks off of first. The runner at first base, it's not a stolen base that he's attempting. He does not have to get a good jump. However, it's up to the hitter to make contact. And that's what Oquendo did.
Now Lawless takes a strike. Laudner bluffs throwing to 3rd. The Twins bullpen will get busy with the go-ahead run. Pena at 3rd and Oquendo at 1st, and nobody out. High drive to deep left field. Grattan goes all the way back at the fence. It's off. It's gone. that? He hit 080 during the regular season. He has one lifetime home run. Here's his second.
Not only that, he knows the trot. Look at this. His second major league home run.
Quite timely.
Oh,
Unbelievable. Shades of San Francisco, Jose Oquendo.
it was Oquendo's third major league home run, and now we're seeing Lawless's second.
And the count 0-2 on fourth as Busch Stadium erupts. Tom Lawless, all season long, he's with the team. There's Jack Clark, who hit 35 during the regular season, and fourth, Ryan on the left at Gladden, who makes the catch. So it's 4-1 St. Louis. Dick Such on the phone to the bullpen, where Schatzeder is loosening up. He hit 25 times during the regular year, had 2 hits, one of those on the final day of the season, and Danny Cox can laugh along with him.
As a matter of fact, the last home run the Cardinals hit, as you look at Schatzeder and Joe Niekro, last home run hit was Oquendo's 3-run homer. The 7th game of the series against the Giants.
There's Coleman coming out of the dugout along with Smith and Jack Clark and Ken Daly, and they can't believe it. One and one. Tom Lawless. Did not have one run batted in this year.
Had 1 extra base hit, a double.
Two and one. As a matter of fact, it sort of became a joke around baseball that a guy could sit on the bench and see that much inactivity during the course of an entire year.
Well, that's what I saed earlier. He being the third catcher really changed his job description until the injury to Terry Pendleton.
3 and one.
It's just amazing. I mean, going into this game, Matthews, who's no longer pitching, gave up 17 home runs, 5 3-run home runs in 1 year. And Viola, don't know how many 3-runners he gave up, but I know it's not that many. Not with a 2.90 ERA for the year.
1 out. With the bases empty, 4-1. The Cardinals on top in the bottom of the 4th. And it's that 4th inning again, but this time for St. Louis. Three and two. Check swing. No, he didn't go around, says Kaiser. Ball 4. Coleman at first base. 1 down. And Smith is the batter.
Shortstop, Ozzie Smith.
It didn't appear that he went around, and he didn't. I'll tell you, Tom Kelly's really got a tough problem here. If he brings in Schatzeder, he's using up his only other left-hander. The Twins still very much in this ball game. If, on the other hand, he brings in Joe Niekro, then you've got the knuckleball to cope with Coleman on base.
And that's the problem he's got right now, because he has to go deeper into the game to get Berenguer in there. And, of course, his closer is Reardon. The only saving grace, and he will go to the bullpen, is that if he has to go to a 7th game, he will have a somewhat fresher Frank Viola, who comes out in the 4th inning with a score 4-1 St. Louis. We'll be back. We're back, and Dan Schatzeder is the Minnesota pitcher. Ozzie Smith at the plate, Coleman at first base. And the pitch is a strike, 0-1. Schatzeder coming into the game, and he will lead off if Tom Kelly elects to let him stay in the top of the 5th, but in the bullpen, Niekro is still throwing. Smith fouls it away, and the count is 0-2. Schatzeder came in last night, but after the damage had been done, working the last inning in 2/3. And Coleman knows him well. Schatzeder in the National League with Montreal and with Philadelphia and with San Francisco, so the Cardinals know him well.
Oh, such an unusual year. Good record at 3-1, but 64 hits in 43 innings. With a cute comment, he said, "I wish I had an excuse like a sore arm, but there isn't one." But very good in postseason play.
And that's in there, and Smith has gone on strikes. So Ozzie gets handcuffed despite 12 for 27 lifetime against Schatzeder.
Second baseman.
Second out of the 4th inning, and Tommy Herr is the batter. 4-1 Cardinals. We mentioned that Lawless, as Herr stands in, Lawless had hit 1 home run in his major league career. He did it back in 1984 when he was playing for Cincinnati. He did it at Atlanta, and he hit the home run off Ken Daly, who is now his teammate.
And one of the first ones out of the dugout.
Yep. So Daly has seen all of Lawless's home runs. One slightly more exciting than the other.
Well, there's something to swinging hard and having a guy on the hill like Daly or Viola that can throw hard, because that was not, it was an 0-1 count. As you're taking a look at Kenny Daly, he was ahead in the count, not really looking for a pitch, as we saw earlier off Greg Gagne. Amazing that he'd get that kind of bat speed, because he's a contact hitter, hits the ball the other way, and all of a sudden he's going off the facade for a 3-run dinger.
He did have double figures in home runs once in the minor leagues. His high was 13.
One to go, the count on Tommy Herr.
Before tonight, I guess Tom Lawless's greatest claim to fame is that he was traded for Pete Rose back on August 16th, 1984.
Well, the Reds in that deal had to give Montreal something. Cincinnati wanted Pete to come over not only as a player, but the playing manager. So Lawless went the other way. Huge jump by Coleman. Laudner has no chance, and it's backed up by Gagne. So a steal for Bench, and the count is 2-0 on Herr with Lindemann on deck.
Well, this is what seeing a guy, he knows the move. It's elementary. Not a chance for Tim Laudner. Gagne backing up keeps him at second base. See him drop his arm. He was trying to get rid of the ball so quickly.
One step. Yeah.
The result was high and away and a stolen base. So he's behind Tommy Herr 2-0. With Coleman in scoring position.
3-0 now.
So one thing in baseball, you really can't control speed. I mean, it changes everything. Pitcher releasing the ball, players trying to make the play more quickly, catchers trying to throw.
Middle infielders, your second baseman, shortstop moving around. Yep.
Now ball 4 is intentional, and Lindemann will come up. Niekro is still throwing in the bullpen. One thing that Kelly can think about is if he wants Schatzeder to hit to lead off in the 5th inning. Schatzeder is an excellent
First
hitting
baseman.
pitcher. 253 career average with 5 home runs.
And the last American League pitcher to get a hit in the World Series, Tim Stoddard, back in the 1979 series. Since that time, American League pitchers have gone 0 for 62.
There go the runners, and it's fouled at the plate. Coleman got a huge jump, and Herr was trailing and going down to second. But the count is 0-1. And that hit by Stoddard was a big hit in Pittsburgh.
Well, it was. I was on that team, and we were coming back, and Lowenstein had doubled. Take a look at Vince Coleman. As you said, the reason you can get that huge jump is because nobody's behind you. But anyway, going back to that base hit, Lowenstein, Crowley come from behind, and in that inning, Stanhouse, as you take a look at Joe Niekro, is warming up in the bullpen, led the team, set an all-time record for saves, and we relieved Stoddard, and he gets the only hit in the history of, during the DH and whatever American League's pitchers hitting it. Amazing. Tim Stoddard, of course, played on that NCAA championship team, 32-0 down at basketball team we're talking about. Huge guy at 6'6".
North Carolina State with David Thompson.
There goes Coleman. It's ripped into left center for a base hit. Coleman scores, juggled by Puckett. Herr will stop at third, Lindemann to second.
Jim Lindemann tied it back in the third inning, and now he makes it 5-1. And it's going to be scored a single and an error on Kirby Puckett for this boot right here, allowing Lindemann to go to second base.
And the Cardinals have hit around. McGee is at the plate, singled and struck out. And he rips it into the gap in left center to drive in two. Puckett cuts it off feet. McGee has a double, 7-1.
Whitey ball. Let's make contact, hit the ball back up the middle. It's what Willie McGee does so well. Puckett keeps him from getting his 12th triple of the year. You get an idea that not only can he hit, he can run.
In the air to center field off Pena's bat as the Cardinals send 10 men to the plate. And again, it's the bottom of the fourth, except this time in St. Louis. 7-1 Cardinals. With natural sound, Tom Lawless's home run in the fourth. I can't believe he did that. That ball didn't go out by that much. Take a look. I mean, that's only out by about 8 feet. Larkin takes a strike and the count 0-1.
You've only hit one before. That's out by plenty.
Yeah, but I mean, if you've only hit one before, how do you know about the trot?
He probably talked to Reggie before the game.
Lawlessness reigns here in St. Louis,
doesn't it? 1-1 pitch is a strike to Larkin, batting for Schatzinger. So one item of note, Joe Niekro, one of the Niekro brothers, will finally get into a World Series game when the Cardinals bat in the bottom of the inning. 2-2 the count. 7-1 St. Louis. The Cardinals trying to even the series. The Twins in Minnesota scored 13 runs in the fourth over the weekend, and the Cardinals answer with a 6 tonight as Larkin fouls it away in the count 2-2. So Bob Forsch picking up for Matthews, and he is the pitcher of record. Three and 2 on Larkin. Larkin, then Gladden and Newman. And Forsch walks Larkin, which is about the last thing you'd expect from a Bob Forsch who's been around and has good control, and a 6-run lead, and he winds up walking the leadoff man.
Well, he's been struggling, Al, and as we said, he's a control pitcher, and to miss 3 and 2, that by that far, is unusual.
Dan Gladden now 0 for 2, and he is 4 for 15 in the series. 7 runs, 8 hits, and no errors for the Cards. 1 run, 2 hits, and 1 error for the Twins. What a Cardinal win means, of course, is a guaranteed return trip to Minnesota. Game 5 here tomorrow night. Friday is an off day, and then Saturday a day game. Strike, 1-1.
And if the Cardinals win, that will mean that for the 4th straight game, the home team has won. I think the record for that in World Series play is 6.
That's right. And it's been done on a couple of occasions. No World Series has ever gone the route with the home team winning every game. Jack Clark, all he can do is sit and cheerlead. And who knows, maybe offer some advice to guys like Tom Lawless. One and one. You know, on opening night in Minnesota, one of the things we dealt with at the beginning of the telecast was the improbability of the World Series as Pena goes to the mound. The fact that through the years, some World Series heroes have been Babe Ruth, and there is Tommy Lasorda, who knows about World Series heroes, but you've got Babe Ruth and Mickey Mantle and Yogi Berra and guys like that. And then we mentioned the other night, you've also had people like Al Weiss and Brian Doyle, and now Tom Lawless.
Bucky Dent back in the early 80s.
That's hit into right center field for a base hit and maybe more. Oquendo cuts it off. Gladden will settle for a long single, and Larkin goes to third. So the Twins stirring here in the top of the 5th.
And it may be premature, but we said at the top of the telecast that the Cardinals do not want to get into a slugfest with the Twins because the Twins have a much better chance, even with the 7-1 lead. I think Whitey's thinking about getting someone up now.
And that's exactly what's going to happen. They have Lee Tunnell and Rick Horton and Ken Daly, and that's Horton who gets up. Of course, the closer would be Todd Worrell, and they would think about him in the 8th and 9th innings, and Rourke goes to the mound. And also that's Tunnell, so Horton is the lefty and Tunnell is the righty. Friday night on the ABC movie special, Matt Dillon is a gambling ladies man with 2 full hands. Premiere presentation of the Flamingo Kid, and the times are reflected there. 8 Eastern, 7 Central, followed by 2020. 7-1 Cardinals with Al Newman at the plate. Runners at first and third and nobody out. Newman, a switch hitter. Now remember, Newman in the lineup in good measure tonight because he hit .319 right-handed, but now with Forsh in there, he comes up lefty and he hit .178 from this side. Strike, 0-1.
So much talk about after Jose Oquendo hit that 3-run home run in the last game of the playoffs to really put him ahead. Talked about getting the film of Rod Carew's hitting instruction. This is what Al Newman's going to do this offseason. He said he's so disappointed the way he's hit it left-handed that he's thinking about not only getting the film but going out to the school. Wants to work with Rod. Pretty good guy to over 3,000 hits to work with.
1-1 on Newman. Infield double play depth, and it's 2-1.
It's so apparent that Bob Forsh is struggling with his control. That's why they have the bullpen up. That's why Mike Rourke went out. Whitey Herzog knows it as well as we do.
2-2. Got him. First out here in the 5th inning.
One of the criteria to be a good hitter is to know the strike zone. And the ball runs back. Now, it's not where Pena was sitting, but it's where John McSherry, the umpire, is sitting, so he gets a good view of it. Pena did not catch it really the way you'd like to and frame it, but he did get his glove. And McSherry, all he cares about is where the ball comes over the plate.
When a catcher moves across the plate to catch a ball, even though the ball may be a strike, you rarely get that pitch because there's too much movement with the mitt, and that's what you mean when you're talking about framing it. I don't think anybody in the major leagues has ever done it any better than Bob Boone of the Angels. And he's done it for a long time, too.
Who, by the way, if you missed it, established a record this year, most games caught in the history of baseball, surpassing the mark held by Al Lopez. 1 out, runners at first and third, and Puckett grounds it, knocked down by Lawless, and that's all he can do. The Twins get another run as Larkin crosses the plate. So all Lawless could do was knock it down. Puckett will get an infield single and a run batted in, and it's 7-2.
Third baseman, Kirby Puckett.
Well, unusual place for Puckett to hit the ball. He's been hitting the ball the other way, and he saves the double. As Al said, there's no way he is going to make a play on that ball, but by knocking it down, he does keep double play in order. Ground ball will get force out of this inning if he can throw it, and it's hit at somebody, preferably not an outfielder.
Gary Gaetti at the plate. Cardinals on top 7-2, 1 out. 1-0.
This game not over by a long shot. I mean, this is the same ball club that came back from a 5-0 deficit in Game 3 of the ALCS.
Against the Tigers, only to lose when Pat Sheridan hit a home run to win at 7-6. 2-0 the count. Grounded toward the hole. Ozzie can knock it down, throw, and get him. Ozzie Smith. You look at a play like that and you say he can't make that play, and then you realize who's making it. You say, oh yeah, he can.
Watch his throwing position. Oh, mercy. What a play.
That's why he's the best. I mean, this tells it all. Not only did he get to the ball, and then the acrobatic throw, hers there, amazing.
State of the art.
Brunansky takes that side. I mean, when you watch that with the naked eye from where we are, that's a base hit. Or maybe he deflects it to the outfield. That's all he can do with it. You're sure of it when it leaves the bat. Then the next thing you know, force out at second. Strike, 1-1.
It's amazing, and we've all seen Ozzie for a long time, for the last decade. It's amazing how he smothers the ball by putting the glove on the ground and still maintains contact with the ball. Keeps the ball in the glove.
2-1. 2 down with Dan Gladden, the runner, at third, and Gaetti at first. (7-2) St. Louis. Line to left. In comes Coleman. Makes the play. (7-2) St. Louis.
Two exceptional plays defensively for the Cardinals in the 5th inning. Kept the Twins from coming back. This one by Vince Coleman. And we're seeing again the play by Ozzie Smith with runners on first and second and 1 out. Oh, mercy. Then he throws from his knees. My goodness.
So Forsch gets helped out of the 5th inning. And Joe Niekro made his big league debut in 1967. And here he is finally in the World Series, and he's greeted by an Okendo drive to right, caught by Brunansky. One pitch and one out, and here comes Lawless.
Third baseman, Tom Lawless.
Tom Lawless, the ultimate extra man in 1987. And the man of the moment right now.
Pardon me, Al, it's almost the smallest banner in the ballpark, too, but the biggest hit.
I think they just made it up. There might be a few here tomorrow night.
You got that right.
1-1. There are a few bed sheets in the Mound City being spray painted as we speak. 1-2.
Another look at that 3-run blast, and it was, considering who hit it. Second career home run.
Maybe 6 to 8 feet above the wall. And that home run trot, that's one of those visual images burned into the brains of a lot of baseball fans. We won't forget that. That was a classic. 3-2.
I guess the most vivid, Carlton Fisk's 11th inning home run in 1975. I think Tom's may go down with Pudge's.
A looper to Newman for the out, so 2 down here in the bottom of the 5th inning. And Bob Forsch comes up. So one veteran facing another. Joe Niekro appearing in the World Series for the first time, and his brother Phil never had the opportunity. So what a drop for the Niekro boys, but Joe finally makes it. He came close, Niekro, with Houston in 1980 when they lost in that tremendous 5-game series to the Philadelphia Phillies.
Not only that, he had to pitch the extra game, the 163rd game. He pitched against the Dodgers to win it. And a lot of people think because Niekro wasn't available to start against the Phillies, that's why Houston lost it.
That's a
pretty
good
good
point.
case.
That's a good point, because as I recall, that year too, they had that extra game on Monday,
right?
And then the playoffs started on Tuesday, so the rotation was really out of whack.
Houston went into Los Angeles. They had to win 1 game of the weekend. They lost 3 in a row and then 1 on Monday afternoon.
One hopper to Gagne, and it's a 1-2-3 inning for Joe Niekro. We've played 5, 7-2 St. Louis. At the Metrodome in Minneapolis tonight, that's a live shot. They've invited the people to come in and on big screens watch this game on television. So there's some cheering, and the Homer Hankies are out for the Minnesota Twins, some 550 miles to the north.
29,000, amazing.
And here at Busch Stadium in St. Louis, where it's live, it's Herbeck leading off in the 6th inning with a base hit into right field. So Forsch, who staggered through the 5th and got out of it because of Smith and Coleman, gives up the leadoff single here in the 6th inning. Now, we talked about the Lawless trot. This, of course, the most famous reaction to a home run in the World Series, at least in the television age. Carlton Fisk in Game 6, 1975, off Pat Darcy of the Reds to win it. Cincinnati subsequently to go on to win the World Series.
I said earlier it was the 11th inning. It was the 12th inning of that ball game. Game 6. Dramatic moment.
Tim Laudner now fouls it back, and the count 0-1. Boy, it's a crazy game. It's the craziest. The Twins 10-1, 8-4, rolling like crazy. Cardinals beginning to show how battered and beaten and bruised they are, come limping and staggering home. Win last night, lead 7-2 tonight. And we're 4 innings away from being dead even. That's grounded to the right side. Nice stop by Lindemann. He goes to Ozzie. Back to Forsch, DP.
fine play by Jim Lindemann, and this guy ought to be in the Olympics and the gymnastics. It's unbelievable. Not only does he get out of the way of the runner, but just leaps up and makes a toss to first. Every time you think you've seen it, he does it a little bit farther.
Well, in 2 straight innings, we've seen one throw from his knees, and now this inning, a throw in midair.
Gagne at the plate, with 2 out and the base is empty, 1-0. If you don't follow the game that closely, as we see it again with Ozzie taken out and flipping over Herbeck, jumping over Kett. If you don't follow the game that closely, you've heard about Pendleton being gone, at least in the sense that he can't play third, but Terry is a great third baseman. Ozzie is on another planet, so you can imagine what it's like on the left side of the Cardinal infield to try to get a ball through.
Not that porous.
Two 2-0 on Gagne. Grounded to third. Lawless does a pretty good Pendleton imitation and throws him out. And at the end of 5 1/2, it's the Cardinals 7 and the Twins 2. Bottom of the 6th inning, Game 4 of the World Series. Al Michaels with Jim Palmer, Tim McCarver in St. Louis. And very much in the cards tonight, 7-2 St. Louis. Twins got a run in the 3rd on a home run by Gagne. The Cardinals got even with 1 in the bottom of the 3rd. And then the 6-run explosion in the 4th, highlighted by Lawless's 3-run blast. Twins added 1 in the 5th, and we go to the bottom of the 6th inning. Top of the order, Coleman, Smith, and Herr against Joe Niekro. Strike. Joe Niekro this season started the year with the Yankees. Well, if somebody would have told him in spring training, you're going to pitch with 2 clubs, the Yankees and the Twins, and one is going to the World Series, which do you think he would have guessed?
Well, the Twins needed starting pitching. The Yankees needed a catcher. They traded him for Mark Salas. So the big problem with Joe this year was that brawl in Milwaukee. Fell on his shoulder, came back, and the problem really has been that he has no arm strength, can't keep his arm up. Only 4-9 for the Twins, 7-13 on the year between both clubs, the Yankees and the Twins.
1-1 to Coleman is inside, and then of course there was the Emery board.
Yes, the 10-day suspension when, and I was talking to Sal Butera, who was catching him that night, and he didn't say that he never scuffed balls. On August 3rd in Anaheim, and
it's ripped to right field, and against the fence as Bernansky plays the carom. Vince has a double. And Coleman and the Cardinals are all smiles tonight.
Shortstop, Ozzie Smith.
Going back to that play, he threw 1 pitch, a 2-0 slider. Umpire said it acted natural. Sal said it was the best slider he threw all night. They went out and checked him and found the evidence.
And there was that great scene where he was out on the mound emptying his back pockets.
They said the Emery board was all right, but what Sal said when the sandpaper came out, it was a little incriminating.
Ozzie swings. Nice stop by Niekro. Coleman has to stay at second. Smith is gone, and that's the first out. 1 away in the bottom of the 6th inning, and Tommy Herr comes up.
Yeah, you could possibly understand and explain the Emery board because knuckleball pitchers foul down their nails. Really was a good play, leaping high and snow coning it to get Ozzie Smith holding Coleman at second. But I don't know too many people who sandpaper their nails.
Of course, also they had collected about 5 other balls that had scuff marks on them. So
new type of manicure. Outside, 1-0.
He joined Kevin Gross of the Phillies as the 2 pitchers suspended this year for those offenses.
As Don Sutton looked on innocently.
Yeah, right. I understand that Joe is going to sign a contract with an Emery company, a company that makes Emery boards. Don't know the name of the company. Don't know a name of a company that makes emery boards.
2-0 the count. Necro working in the bottom of the 6th inning. Coleman at second base and 1 out. 7 runs, 9 hits, and no errors for the Cardinals. 2 runs, 5 hits, and 1 error for the Twins. Game 5 here tomorrow night. Tom Kelly has already named Bert Blyleven as his pitcher tomorrow on 3 days rest. We mentioned before, Whitey Herzog mulling it over before the game, and he was indicating that if the Cardinals win tonight, he would go with Danny Cox tomorrow night. And he was thinking about if they had lost, knowing he'd have to win all 3, he might have come back with McGrain and then hoped to have Tudor and Cox win 2 in Minnesota. So at least according to the way Whitey was thinking before the game, there's Danny Cox. It would be Cox tomorrow. Whitey's theory being that if Cox can win, then all he has to do is win 1 out of the 2 in Minnesota. Meanwhile, Kelly and Such have no such dilemma, so to speak. They know it's Blyleven tomorrow. There's Bird, who looks really nervous about the upcoming assignment. And Herr is on. So Coleman at second, and Herr now trots down to first with 1 out, and Jim Lindeman, the hitter.
I'll tell you, just think of how proud Joe Niekro's father is tonight with all of the accomplishments of the 2 brothers. 538 major league wins, over 300 for Phil. He won it in Toronto the last day of the season 2 years ago with the Yankees. The last game he pitched with the Yankees, as a matter of fact. And here's Joe in the World Series. 45 years of Major League Baseball and 538 wins.
It's so ironic because Phil wound up going to Toronto. Toronto had a good shot to win the pennant. As the throw goes back to second, and Newman has to move in front of Coleman to keep it from going through. So it appeared when the Joe Niekro trade was made, the Twins were doing quite well, but it was early in the season, and people really weren't taking them that seriously. And then Phil winds up getting traded to a contending club. And then, of course, as it turned out, Phil was gone, and so were the Blue Jays in the end.
And that's what Vince Coleman will make you do if you're a pitcher. Pick off moves, change your delivery, make you rush your delivery. Why veteran pitchers can contend with a Coleman a little bit better than rookies.
And Lindeman gets hit, and the bases are loaded.
Again, the problem that Joe Niekro has had all year. Watch him drop his arm. He gets underneath it. When he does that, he doesn't get on top, and the ball is literally 3 feet inside. We'll say he'll go along, he'll be up on top, and all of a sudden, he just gets under the ball. And with that goes the control.
Willie McGee now. Good series for McGee. He is 7 for 14. And in postseason play, he's hitting .375. And all that with a bothersome wrist. He loves these situations. Oh, 2.
That bug danced then. That was the best knuckleball that Niekro's thrown. That ball really had some movement on it.
Well, I asked Tim Laudner about catching the knuckleball. He said, I just try to get the glove in front of it and take another look. Starts about thigh high and ends up at your ankles.
1-2 with the bases loaded. 1 out. The Cardinals trying to break it wide open in the bottom of the 6th inning. St. Louis leading 7-2.
Loudner using the catcher's mitt designed to catch the knuckleball, the oversized mitt.
Still 1-2 on Willie McGee.
That catcher's mitt looks like a flexible pizza pan.
Thin crust. One, 2 to Willie McGee. And the count holding. Busch Stadium in St. Louis, where the Cardinals are trying to make it an all-home series to this point, with the Twins winning 2 at the Dome. Cardinals winning here last night and leading 7-2 with 1 out and the bases loaded in the bottom of the 6th. And McGee strikes out swinging. 2 down, and Tony Pena comes to the plate. It was Pena who got him going in the 4th inning with a walk, and he eventually was the last man to bat in the inning and flied out to end the 6-run 4th. Two down, bases loaded. And Pena hits it softly toward Gaetti, who throws the first for the out. So the Cardinals leave them loaded in the 6th. 7-2, St. Louis. We'll be back after this from your local station. I'm just wondering, after the type of season the St. Louis Cardinals have had with all the injuries, etc., if they win the World Championship, will there be a statue of Herzog outside next to the Musial statue?
Maybe Tom Lawless will be next to the Musial statue. What do you think, Jim?
Definitely. Most definitely.
It is. It's an improbable situation where you've got a team that comes in as the Cardinals were constituted at the end of the year, having lost Clark, with all of the problems they had during the season, losing Tudor for about 2/3 of the year, making the trade for Pena, losing him for the first 2 months of the season, and somehow, some way, holding off the Mets and the Expos, and then beating the Giants. And now on the verge of tying up the World Series at 2 games apiece after they were left for dead in Minnesota. Smalley starts things off in the 7th inning. Roy hitting for Niekro. And George Frazier throws in the Minnesota bullpen. 0-2 on Smalley. Roy, and we mentioned it the other night, like Niekro, a guy who's been in the big leagues for a long time, and he finally gets a chance to play in the World Series. Came up the other night, saw one pitch and hit it for a double. 1-2.
But the interesting thing to me about the Cardinals is that they were not expected to beat the Giants. Got behind 3-2. And then what did they need? They got 22 straight innings.
And that one goes through Lindemann and down into the right field corner. Smalley on his way to second. And the leadoff man is on for Minnesota here in the 7th inning.
In fact, you take a look at, hits the ball extremely hard. And usually the ball doesn't get any faster. A lot of times people will tell you that on the turf, but it doesn't slow down any when the ball's hit that hard. Misgauged by Jim Lindemann.
It's one of those rare times when an official scorer, or the 3 that are used tonight, Dave Nightingale, Howard Singer, and Jack Herman, are giving an error, and I think that's a good call. One of the few times where a fielder doesn't touch the ball but should have made the play.
Definitely playable. Gladden takes outside, ball 1. 1-0. Bob Forsch, who picked up for Matthews. Matthews with a strained quadricep. Greg had to come out in the 4th inning. As Gladden pops it up, and Pena comes back and runs out of room. And of course, Whitey is right where he wants to be now because he's deep enough into the game when he can think about Daly and Worrell. And in fact, in the St. Louis bullpen at the moment is the left-hander, Ken Daly. Smalley at second. Nobody out. 7th inning, 7-2 St. Louis. One and two. So Gladden's career figures, including a grand slam off Force, and of course that was the other night. And so Gladden hits a grand slam off Force, and then Bob figures out how to get him and strikes him out here in the 7th.
Well, same pitch as he hit for a grand slam, but a different location. Not down, but it's away. The slider that he hit for the grand slam hung on the inside part of the plate. And also, we're in a little different park here. A lot harder to hit home runs here in Busch Stadium than it is in the Metrodome.
One down, and Newman is the batter, 0 for 2 plus a walk. One and oh.
Unless you're Tom Lawless.
Well, pitch is kind of like real estate, really. Price goes up with the best location, right?
Oh, that's a groaner.
Might make the groaning column tomorrow then.
No, that's only on Monday. 1-0 pitch. Hit back off Force, down to Smith, who has no play. And the Twins with runners at first and third.
Looked like it hit Bob on the right foot. And Al Newman has his first hit of the series. Yeah, it did. Hit
That's
Bob
a ball.
on the right foot.
If it's at your left foot, you'll catch it.
Kirby Puckett.
But the follow-through doesn't allow you to get back. And right there, you can see Ozzie Smith pointing to Lawless. Be alert. Because he knows there's not going to be a play, but if you round the bag, there may be a play.
And that ball inadvertently hitting Force, had it gone through, Ozzie probably makes that play.
We're saying that about every ball hit up the middle, to his right.
Cardinal infield at double play depth with a 5-run lead, runners at first and third, and it hits him. So all of a sudden, the Twins now have the bases loaded and 1 out in the 7th inning. And Gary Gaetti coming to the plate with a left-hander Daly in the bullpen. And here comes Whitey. So Herzog signals to the pen. He wants the left-hander to come in to face the right-hand batting Gaetti with the bases loaded and 1 out in the 7th inning. Ken Daly coming in to pitch for the Cardinals. The inside pitch on Daly from Tony Gwynn.
Ken Daly's a 2-pitch pitcher, fastball, curveball. And I've had a lot of success going to the plate and just sitting on the fastball because he's got a reliever's mentality. He's not going to let you beat him with his second best pitch. He's going to make you beat him on his best pitch, which for him is a fastball.
And he comes in here to face Gary Gaetti. He faced Gaetti the other night. Daly getting in some work in that 8-4 Twins victory in Minnesota. He struck Gaetti out with the bases empty in the 7th inning on Sunday. And he faces him here with the bases loaded and 1 out. That's Smalley at third. Newman to his lead at second. Kirby Puckett at first. 7-2 St. Louis with 1 out. Gaetti, one of those aberrations he had a better average against right-handers than lefties. He hit only .235 against left-handed pitching this year. And he pops it back out of play, 0-1. And there it is, 31 points higher against righties. Tom Kelly, that's the first laugh in World Series history from a manager in the 7th inning down by 5. And it's 0-2.
Tom, however, keeping in character when his team's up. He looks like he's grim. When they're down, he's laughing. That's a pretty good formula when you think about it. Nobody needs you to laugh when you're up. No back slapping.
Yeah, somebody had a pretty good joke in the dugout. A couple of them laughing. That's out of play, so still 0-2 on Gary Gaetti.
You know, that formula of Gaetti batting 32 points lower against left-handed pitching, you would rarely see a left-handed hitter hitting much better against left-handed pitching than right-handed pitching. But you often see that with right-handed hitters opposing left-handed pitchers, which means, I guess, that left-handers have an edge, and they certainly do.
That they do. My theory about that is that normally the guys that do not hit left-handers well like the ball on the inside part of the plate, because the natural movement from a left-hander is the ball is going to run away. Now they are trying to pitch Gaetti on the inside part of the plate, something we saw last night with Todd Worrell. Now they're going to go away.
Got him.
So they come in off the plate. The result is foul balls. They go away. Now, and I'm not saying it's easy to hit because Daly's throwing 91 miles per hour. When you throw it on the corner like that, you're trying to play catch up, and Gaetti doesn't do that.
I think you explained that really well, Jimmy. Came inside to get him out of the way. It's not necessarily the pitch, it's how you got there. And he got there very well then.
Now Brunansky, and as you can see, .228 against left-handed pitching. And he pops it up, and it's playable, I think, for Lindemann, and it is. Daly works out of it. Still 7-2 St. Louis.
Brunansky can't get around on the Ken Daly fastball, and he's obviously miffed.
The agony and the ecstasy. And now George Frazier, and he knows a lot about agony. The last time Frazier pitched in the World Series in 1981, he lost 3 games. Here's the inside pitch on him from Paul Molitor.
Now, what makes George a difficult pitcher to face is that he has a herky-jerky motion, and he also has several release points. He can throw sidearm or drop down submarine or even throw over the top, and this makes it very difficult for the hitter to pick up the baseball. Now, added to that, George has been accused of throwing the Staten Island sinker, alias the spitball. When he goes to his forehead or behind his ear, it's time for those Cardinal hitters to check the baseball.
And going back to that 81 World Series, Al, you and I had a chance to work together. 3 of the toughest losses. Did not deserve to get them, did not pitch poorly. And I was talking to Dick Such about George Frazier, and he said he got buried in Chicago by some of the broadcasters, and it's taken him a long time to recover. Great stuff, over 90 miles per hour, occasional spitter, pretty good breaking ball. But what bothered him this year was the fork ball. He hurt his fingers throwing it.
He starts with Oquendo, and the pitch is low and inside, ball 1.
Had about 3 or 4 quarter zone shots in the middle finger, trying to get rid of the tendonitis, and it's something that we've seen a lot of pitchers. Baron Garrett had problems last year throwing that new fork ball.
Knocks it down, And dug out. Nice play by Herbeck at first base for the out. Self-defense. That's all that was.
Third baseman, Tom Wallace.
As I said, once you release it, you should try to be one of the infielders. Of course, I'm not sure getting your body in front of it's the best way to do it. George recovers, and so does Kent Herbeck with an excellent play.
I do have to disagree with you on one point, though, Jim. The only way a broadcaster is going to hurt a pitcher is if he's got a bat in his hand. Right?
Maybe.
I don't know about that.
Oh, all right.
Then the
Okay.
fans start to get on him and
Okay.
can do some damage. You can start messing with a guy's psyche.
And the reason I say that is because he changes leagues, and every American league park he goes to, they're calling him names. And it's been a while since he played in the American League. And
Been a while since somebody homered in the series after a homerless season. Ken Holtzman, the pitcher, in 1974. And that year, Holtzman with Oakland, he did not hit during the regular season, and then homered in the World Series against the Dodgers. 1-2 on Tom Lawless.
That was Bob Gibson's retort to a particular writer here in the city of St. Louis. When asked if the writers got on him back in the late 60s, he said, the only way you can hurt me is if you swing a bat.
2-2.
So I was paraphrasing Gibson. I'll blame it on him.
okay.
One out, bases empty. Got him looking.
That looked like a wet one right there. No? Split finger fastball?
Looked like a hanging breaking ball to me.
Let me ask you this. Wasn't that Staten Island sinker, wasn't that coined by George Bamberger?
Oh, yes.
Your ex-pitching coach?
It wasn't the dry sinker as Art Fowler, who worked for Billy Martin, taught all the Oakland A pitchers. Looks to me like just a hanging slider that a lot of times is called a ball, especially in the last year, but John McSherry thought it was just low enough to call it a strike.
Ken Daly now. Not a bad looking swing, 0-1.
And talking about that finger injury, what's happened, there's been a lot of pitchers with a new split-fingered fastball, which is you thrown with separating your fingers, that have had problems. Because it seems like the guys with the most effective ones have the ability to spread their fingers, but it takes a lot of strength to throw that pitch. Comes out of your fingers a very unusual way.
Look down from the blimp at Daly, who did not hit this season because he's a left-handed short man out of the bullpen. And oft times he's in key situations just facing a couple of batters. However, his lifetime average is .258, so Ken can swing the bat. You would think. One ball, two strikes. Ken Daly. Well, he can go home someday and show his at-bat to his grandchildren from the Goodyear Blimp Enterprise. 2 out, bases empty. Bottom of the 7th inning. 7-2 St. Louis. And down he goes. To the 8th we go. 7-2 Cardinals. Like a shimmering jewel, Busch Stadium on a cold, clear night in St. Louis from the Goodyear Blimp Enterprise, where the St. Louis Cardinals are leading the Minnesota Twins 7-2 in Game 4 of the World Series. This Saturday, Purdue against Iowa at 12 Eastern Time, except on the West Coast, if necessary. And that means if the Cardinals win tonight, there will be a 6th game of the World Series Saturday afternoon in Minneapolis. And on the West Coast, the Cal Bears and the UCLA Bruins. 8th inning, Ken Herbeck the batter. Herbeck, Laudner, and Gagne with Ken Daly on in relief of Matthews and Forsch. It's Forsch's game to win. 1-1. Start of the game 47 and down to 43, and it's supposed to get down into the mid-30s tonight. And what's the forecast for tomorrow? Anybody here?
About the same, I understand. I'll tell you, in this series so far, it's really not hard to pick out the most exciting inning, is it? Number 4 is ringing true.
Bottom of the 4th.
Wow.
1-1 pitch. 1-2. Seven runs, 9 hits, and 1 error for the Cards. 2 runs, 6 hits, and 1 error for the Twins. 2-2. Pena ready to whip it around, and McSherry says, not yet.
I think Ken Daly overmatched 2 people there, Ken Hrbek and John McSherry. What a pitch.
Tommy Herr, routine play. 1 gone. Ken Hrbek goes back to the dugout to start the top of the 8th inning, and Tim Laudner comes up.
And they have really controlled Kent Hrbek. Other than that bouncing single for 2 runs, they have really kept his RBIs down. No home runs after 34 in the year, and that's a key to beating this ball club.
1 out, bases empty in the 8th inning. Tim Laudner now 5 for 11 in the World Series. Strike. Daly was a member of the Cardinals in '85 in the World Series. In '82, he came in here in postseason as the only left-hander on an Atlanta Braves pitching staff, and they were overmatched by the Cardinals. St. Louis swept that series in 3.
Tell you, getting back to Hrbek, it's a very difficult thing when you have mostly right-handed hitters in your lineup, and you have to face the left-handed pitching that the Cardinals have. It's tough for a left-handed hitter to face the Cardinal staff at any time. Danny Cox, the right-hander, and then Todd Worrell, the right-hander. Mix in Bob Forsch, and for the most part, outside of Lee Tunnel, you got 5 left-handers, 4 right-handers, and they are all quality left-handers. So that's one reason, I guess, the lefties of the Cardinals have held Hrbek down so well.
2-2 the count on Laudner.
Tell you, if a left-hander starting the game, he says, come on, you right-handers, get this guy out of there. The same thing for right-handed hitters when a right-handed pitcher
It really
starts.
reflects itself in the power numbers.
Yeah.
34 home runs, 28 as you take a look at Keith Atherton. 28 from the off right-handers and only 6 off left-handers. And the batting average about 230, collectively up in the 280s, 285.
Ball 3 to Laudner, full count. Atherton is throwing, and there's Don Baylor, possible pinch hitter, because Laudner is the number 7 hitter. So if they've got to go to the bench, it'll be Atherton to pitch in the bottom of the 8th. 1 out, bases empty. 3-2 on Tim Laudner. Ken Daly, and we talked about it the other night, had that what's now referred to as the Tommy John operation.
And what's amazing about it is last October 10th he had it. It usually takes about 12, 14 months. He was back pitching in 7th month, and he had his best year this year. And it did not hurt his ability level at all. Didn't affect the breaking ball or his velocity.
Tommy Herr handles this one, and the Cards are 4 outs away from squaring the World Series. 2 down in the 8th inning, and Greg Gagne is the batter. Busch Stadium, downtown St. Louis, just a couple of blocks from the Mississippi River. I think most everybody knows that. The Cardinals have been exposed enough through the years on national television, and announcers have talked about it. It's been written about. I think a lot of people were surprised to find out the Mississippi River flows very close to the Metrodome in Minneapolis. In fact, if you really want to get technical, the Mississippi River is actually closer to the Metrodome than it is to Busch Stadium.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
How do you know
I'm
that?
sure you can do a lot with it, too. 1-1. We had our crack staff diligently pacing it off. One and two the count.
This is what Tony Gwynn said. He usually goes with his fastball with a big lead. Almost looked like that was a changeup.
Looked like
Did
it.
not look like the breaking ball, and that's the first one I've ever seen him throw, or a little split finger. I'm sure all the National League hitters sitting at home are saying just what he needs, another pitch. The other two are already effective enough.
Ken Daly sets the Twins down in order, and at the end of 7.5, Cardinals 7, Twins 2. Once again, Dan Deerdorf is at the game tonight here in St. Louis. Amongst the crowd of 55,000. And there they are singing "Meet Me in St. Louis, Louis," in the bottom of the 8th.
Now, what is this, the 8th inning stretch?
Yeah. Bottom of the 8th inning. The reminder, Sunday, November 1st, America's biggest marathon, 22,000 runners in the New York City Marathon. And you'll see it here on ABC Sports. Times reflected at the bottom of the graphic, and that's in the morning, Sunday, November 1st. What are they doing? Looking at Lawless's bat? How in the world did he get it out of here? The Cardinal dugout, a happy collection right now. They're 3 outs away from squaring the series and guaranteeing a 6th game, as Coleman starts by lining one right into Gaetti's glove. So one gone in the bottom of the 8th inning, and it will bring up Smith. John Morris and the guys examining, they tell us, Kurt Ford's bat. Jose Oquendo, the batter, and the count 1-0. I beg your pardon. Ozzie Smith is the batter. What was it a former colleague of ours once said? Excuse me, I had a misshapen scorecard. And Ozzie hits a high fly ball to left center field. Gladden is there and makes the catch, and there are 2 down.
Yes, you will not get away that easily. There's a big difference between Jose Oquendo and Ozzie Smith and Greg Luzinski and Lonnie Smith.
Yes. You've got a very good memory.
Yes. Well, I also have had a misshapen scorecard.
Right. 2 guys. Tommy Herr is standing in.
I see where broadcasters can not only affect pitchers.
Oh, yeah. The pitch is inside ball 1, 1-0.
Oh, yeah? Oh, yeah. Oh, we can't get too jovial. They'll say we're not objective.
Who will?
They will. Anyway.
Cardinals, there's Lawless in the middle, number 12.
He's already concerned. I'm going to have to answer all those questions. They're going to ask the same question you asked. How did you do it?
Ripped into right field for a base hit. So Tommy Herr with a 2-out single. And that's the first hit off George Frazier. And it will bring up Lindemann. when the Twins come up in the top of the 9th inning, it'll be a pinch hitter for Frazier and then Gladden and Newman. Tom Kelly, and he's got Wayne Terwilliger seated next to him now. Wayne Terwilliger, we talked about him the other night. His whole life in the game of baseball, long career, and he finally makes it into postseason play.
You know, in the short period of time that Steve Carlton was up in Minnesota, he and Terwilliger became very good friends to the extent that they had dinner together the other night. And Steve Carlton at the game tonight with his wife, Bev. Not eligible, of course, to play in postseason play, but as we mentioned in Game 1, will be back next year, invited to the Minnesota Twins camp.
Jim Lindemann takes a strike. Lindemann, a rookie. There is Les Straker, who pitched so well last night. Got exactly what Tom Kelly wanted, 6 shutout innings. And if we go to a 6th game, and we're 3 outs away from that being guaranteed, it would be Straker. Her goes, and Lindemann, it's a high fly ball to shallow left field. Dan Gladden is there, and that's the end of the bottom of the 8th. On to the 9th we go. Cards lead 7-2. Busch Stadium in St. Louis. The Cardinals on top 7-2. 6-run 4th inning, highlighted by Tom Lawless's 3-run homer. Al Michaels with Jim Palmer and Tim McCarver. Tomorrow night, Game 5. And if the Cards win tonight, Friday an off day, and then Saturday, Game 6. And that would be a day game. And our coverage would start at 3:30 Saturday afternoon, 3:30 Eastern. Mark Davidson to pinch hit for Frazier here in the 9th. He'll be followed by Gladden and Newman. Ken Daly trying to wrap it up for Bob Forsch. 1-0.
Tell you, that's Mad Dog. Mark Davidson. He was nicknamed Mad Dog in the instructional league by Kirby Puckett.
And the lady you just saw was Whitey's wife. I didn't want people to think that you were referring to Mary Lou as Mad Dog.
No. No, that's Mark Davidson because of the initials, MD, Mad Dog. And Kirby Puckett, yeah, that was it. Kirby Puckett nicknamed him that. And Al Newman, the 3 of them are in the club, and it's called a Mad Dog Club. And it's very exclusive. They have T-shirts. As a matter of fact, the T-shirt he has underneath that long sleeve shirt, it has "You Gotta Be a Dog" on it.
2-1 pitch. 2-2. Tomorrow night, we know it'll be Blyleven. There's Puckett waiting in the dugout. He's due up 4th in the inning. Blyleven for the Twins, and Whitey before the game indicating a victory would mean Cox. 3-2. There is John Tudor. Now he would pitch Saturday in Game 6. And next to Tudor is Cox. To deep center field where it's 4:14, and McGee goes back about 4:09. 1 gone.
Surprising power from Mark Davidson. Only 1 home run on the year. Known for his rocket arm. Pinch running ability, pretty good speed. But that's what this park's all about. Get him to hit it to center field, and you got to be Jeffrey Leonard, as he did. He's one of the few guys that in the playoffs went out in center field.
Our producer, Kirk Gowdy, director, Craig Janoff, Peter Lasser, our pregame producer, Mike Blazer, Rich Gilbert, TDs, Rob Cowan, Earl Fryman, associate directors, Bruce Clark, Mike Cohn, Nancy Stern, assistants to the producer, Jerry Bobby, and our tech manager, Chuck Mertz, Peter Grimm, unit managers, Mike Farrell, Margaret Beauvais, telecommunications to Steve Hurt downstairs, and Alan Roth up here. Our kudos. 1-1 the count on Gladden. Two and 1. Tom Kelly, who watched his team come in blazing hot, will now, if the Twins don't rally with one gone in the ninth inning, be looking ahead to what would amount to a best-of-3 situation. And for Kelly, at least he knows he's going home.
I was going to say the same thing, that the Twins have won 4 straight postseason games at the Metrodome. They are 59-25 this year, including the postseason games, or I should say 60-25 this year, including postseason play. A lot of comfort knowing you're going back.
To Tommy Herr, 2 down. Daly has now set down all 7 men he has faced in this game, and all 4 he faced in game 2. And Don Baylor bats for Newman. Oh and 1. One and 1 to count. The Cardinals with Mike Rourke on the right and trainer Gene Gieselman and Nick Leyva and Red Schoendienst. And the leader himself, Doral Norman Herzog. Two and 1 the count. Two and 2. Base hit as the Twins stay alive. Don Baylor with a 2-out single to left as Coleman gets it back in. So Baylor with a single and 2 down, and Kirby Puckett, the batter.
Another look at Don Baylor's base hit. What good hitters will do, they'll adjust. 2 and 1, threw it right by him. He got a little bit quicker. Thusly, the base hit into left field.
You saw Newman reflecting the faint hopes of the Twins down to their last out. Puckett. 1-0.
And I'm sure when they do that little hat routine, one of the evil spirits was not a 3-run home run from Tom Wallace. Hard to imagine.
One and 1. Tom Lawless. Not too many people are going to remember that he hit 080 in 1987, but a lot of people are going to remember what he did in Game 4 of the World Series. And again, the Twins are down to their last strike. 1 and 2. Herbeck. 2 down. Baylor at first in the ninth. Brunansky. Two and two, don't get the call from Kaiser.
Well, the same strength that allowed him to hit 28 home runs allows him to stop the bat.
Gagne. To Smith, and the World Series is a best of 3.